Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pisgah Podcast.
We are your hosts. I'm Mangler, and that is Drew, and you are listening to Pisgah. We're coming to you live from the parking lot at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
I hope the shuttle gets here pretty soon, or we're going to be late.
Yep.
Wow, there's kind of a lot going on this week in the news and updates-wise.
Yeah, so give us the bad news first.
So DuPont has extended their single-track closure to February 15th.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually my follow-up doctor appointment to hopefully get an all clear with my thumb dislocation to start riding my bike again. So maybe I can go for a ride at DuPont when it reopens.
Yeah, let's let DuPont be your Valentine.
I mean, there could be worse.
Yeah.
Well, so Drew, you are kind of our CX expert. Would that be sexpert? And
Yeah.
the Worlds just went down this last weekend. I know we had some locals in the mix. So how did we represent out there?
Yeah, so here's a quick rundown. Like you said, CX Worlds took place this past weekend in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Not very often that we get to have Worlds on this continent, so it's always a fun event when it does. Last time was in Louisville, Kentucky. But some noteworthy results are for the elite women's category, the highest placed American woman was Clara Heinziger, coming in at 11th place. But then we had Brevard local Hannah Ahrensman coming in with a 21st place finish, and not far behind her in 27th place was Brevard's Erica Zaveda.
Brevard representing.
Yes, sir. And then in the men's elite category, Curtis White was the highest placed American in 12th place, while former Pisgah Podcast guest Carrie Warner placed 21st.
Right on. That's pretty good showing.
Yeah, super good showing and really good effort put in by all the Americans that were attending in all the different categories. And they did super well in the team relay as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, in some big event news, especially for the non-male riders and listeners, Rome Fest has released their 2022 dates, and kind of local-wise to this area, in the past they've had a Brevard event, but they've mixed things up and will be bringing the Ladies Shred mountain bike party to Knoxville May 13th through the 15th.
That's pretty cool. That's a good departure, but still good East Coast representation heading to Noxie. Their other two festivals will be in Fruita, Colorado, September 23rd through 25th, and then Sedona, Arizona, on November 4th through 6th. So give them a follow at This Is Rome to stay up to date on registration details.
Those are always good parties, and bike riding sometimes occurs.
Well, just like Lisa Jennings said in last week's episode, trail building has officially kicked off in Old Fort.
Yep, and our friends from Single Track Trails are already deep into it, with past guest Shrimper leading the charge.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to get out there and get him on the mic again to mumble some Southern Appalachian vernacular about Old Fort for us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Also, keeping it awesome, the WWE Royal Rumble went down this past weekend, and Asheville's own Beth Phoenix and Edge took the win in their tag team match. Beth pulled off a sick double spear on The Miz, with Edge dropping a huge flying elbow from the top rope.
I don't know what you said, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So Seth of Seth's Bike Hacks put up a new video showcasing some new trail features at Burn Park along with an opening date.
Yeah, the new video shows off the trails built by Elevated Trail Designs. You can listen to Peter's interview in episode 146, but you can also dig back a little deeper to Seth's interview from episode 109 to hear more about Burn Park.
But also, more importantly, the opening date is April 23rd.
Awesome.
Seth reminds us that you don't need to register or anything. Just show up and ride because it's a free community park.
That's so awesome. I can't wait to get out there. And Drew, I'm pretty sure that you and I will be there.
We'll be there. I think the weather's going to be turning around that time of the year for us. Also, getting the stoke back up and, a new park atmosphere, new trails, springtime. It's just all the things that I like the best.
Absolutely. But if you do feel like typing stuff into the internet, the National Park Service has a comment period open until February 5th, which is only just a couple of days away. Sorry, we just kind of caught wind of this. but it's on a 12-inch underground natural gas pipeline that's on a right-of-way from Dominion that will run, from what we can tell, under the parkway on the east side of the French Broad River.
Yeah, speak now or forever hold your peace. We're going to put the link to this in the show notes.
Yeah, and from what I can tell, it doesn't look like it's around any of the national forest stuff. It looks mostly to be around that new industrial site near Bent Creek and going under the parkway, possibly over to that gated neighborhood that's behind where like REI and the movie theater and stuff are.
All right. Well, we've had tons of talk about new trails lately. Whether it's new trails in Tennessee, V Holler that just opened, or the groundbreaking of Old Fort, all the projects that Elevated Trail Designs are working on, and so on and so forth. But I guess we should just kind of stay in the flow of that and talk about some more new trails, huh?
Yeah, well, since we kind of can't really ride a lot right now because, you know, got a bunch of snow and rain coming in, we might as well fuel the stoke up on some new trails, right?
Yeah, my stoke needs stoking really bad right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to continue our way pointing east for this week's episode and maybe depart the mountains for a little bit, down to some warmer temps, less snow, more red clay. And just because there's less elevation, don't let that run you off. We're in the big city of Charlotte for this week's episode to talk about the oldest but newest bike park inside the Tar Heel Trailblazer Zone. We've got MC extraordinaire Trill Will on the mic to welcome us to the Piedmont.
Right on. This is going to be a good one.
All right, we are here with Will Washam, also known as Trill Will.
What up?
Hey, man, nice to have you here on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Kind of give me an introduction on what Trill Will does. Lots of people have probably heard your voice, and lots of people probably know your wife.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of in and about the bike community in North Carolina and the Southeast in a multitude of different ways. Been announcing downhill races. I think I started in 2009. Been 12 years now. It's kind of weird to say that on the mic.
Yeah,
but
12
I'm the voice.
years.
Yeah, I hope I know what I'm talking about by now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the voice of the Downhill Southeast series. So if you guys are out at the races, you'll hear me there at the finish line. Maybe you'll hear me more than you want to, but that's my job there, is to talk all day. And I do some other race announcing. I'll do the USA Cycling National Championships. Was fortunate enough to do the 2 World Cups at Snowshoe, highlights of my announcing career.
Oh, right on.
Yep. But that's, announcing's kind of a side gig. I'm a professional transportation planner. I actually do bicycle transportation for the city of Charlotte DOT. It's a very exciting, fast-paced job. Lots of folks in the city of Charlotte, the largest metro here in North Carolina, and they want a lot of bike lanes. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And then when I've got time, I'm out on 2 wheels trying to ride as much as I can.
Well, outside of your professional job, you also hold down a role with the Tar Heel Trailblazers. So tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are and kind of a little bit about Tar Heel Trailblazers for us mountain folk.
Yeah. Well, the Trailblazers have been around since 1990. So they're an OG trail organization in the truest sense. They existed pre-Sorba, maybe pre-IMBA. I don't know exactly when IMBA was born, maybe sometime around that same time. But so yeah, it's been over 30 years. And I've been involved for a decade now, got involved as soon as I graduated. I dabbled a little bit when I was in school at App State. I'm from this area originally, but when I graduated in 2011, got involved, became a local trail coordinator for North Mecklenburg Park, which is just a little neighborhood cross-country trail, about 3.5-mile loop in Huntersville, North Carolina. Eventually, I loved doing the trail work, always did trail work, but I wanted to get involved on the board and was on the board, I think from 2016 to 2020. And so now I'm not on the board anymore, but I'm still actively involved in a number of different trail projects, maybe too many, but it's really fun stuff to be a part of.
So when it comes to new trail projects, kind of what is your role there?
Well, I bring some of my professional expertise. So I'm a transportation planner. I've also been a land use planner for the town of Cornelius. So I understand kind of how government works. I can speak the language, kind of commiserate with land managers and understand kind of their perspective, and then hopefully preach the gospel of mountain biking to them so we can have more trails. So I get involved in a number of different trail projects, maybe ones that aren't even close to my house, as just kind of an advisor, helping folks get the ball rolling, make sure the projects are off to the right start. I do trail work as well on my local trails. Here I live in Mooresville, so I do a lot of trail work at Lake Norman State Park as much as I can. But I definitely do a lot of that planning and kind of groundwork for new trail projects.
So as far as Tar Heel Trailblazers go, what areas and like trail networks may some people have heard of? Like, I know it's kind of a big area that they cover.
Well, it's a huge area, and the Trailblazers are a unique Sorba chapter. I feel pretty confident saying this, that we serve the largest number of people, just period, for a Sorba chapter.
I mean, it's a big market.
It's a huge market. The city of Charlotte is kind of the center of the Trailblazers region, just under 1 million people in the city limits of Charlotte. And the metro, it's got to be well over 2 million people. And we pretty much serve the entire Charlotte metro. So all of Mecklenburg County, most of Iredell County to the north up to Statesville, to the east out to Concord, and to the west just a little bit across the Catawba River into Gaston County, places like Belmont. And then we've got a satellite area, Uwharrie National Forest. We also steward those trails. So big geography, lots of people. Our membership is over 500. I don't know the exact number right now, but when I was on the board, we were about 400 and we grew it up to 600. So yeah, a very dynamic region. At one point before the pandemic, 63 people a day were moving into the city of Charlotte.
That's a decent amount. With that diverse geography that you guys cover, I mean, trail wise, I've ridden a bunch of the trails in the Charlotte area, everything from, backyard trails, which is probably my favorite for now. And then, some of the more XC-ish stuff as well. So I've kind of like covered the gamut. I've not ridden all the trails in the Charlotte area, which I should probably make that a goal over winter, is to like try to ride all of those. But kind of talk to us about how some of the trails vary.
Well, we've got over 200 miles of trail that the Trailblazers steward. And we've got trail systems that are more like local parks. So like North Mecklenburg Park in Huntersville, like I mentioned, it's 3.5 miles of trail, but it directly abuts up to a neighborhood. It's part of a park that has baseball fields and everything. But then, you can walk out of your back door if you live in that neighborhood and be on the trail. I'm a little more located in the north of our region, so we've got great trails at Fisher Farm Park in Davidson. Lake Norman State Park is kind of the flagship trail system for the region, 30 miles of single track, really good riding. But then in Charlotte, there's pockets of trail everywhere. On the east side, we've got trail in Concord. So if you're over there visiting family, there's a trail right in the heart of Concord, Brown Mill Trail.
Okay.
The Rocky River Trail.
I've ridden those.
Yeah, great trails. It's actually got a ton of elevation.
Yeah, all the way down to the river and back up. That's not a good trail system to ride after you've been working all day at the racetrack and you're hot and just exhausted.
Oh, it'll work you.
Yeah.
Well, and then, one of our probably most recognizable trails, Sherman Branch. It's on the east side of Mecklenburg County. It's a 120-acre property, beautiful property with just, single track weaving all through it. I think it's about a 14-mile ride to get it all in. So, yeah, there's pockets everywhere. All of those trail systems are on TarHeelTrailblazers.com. You can go to the Trails tab, scroll through them, and then, of course, we link to the Trail Forks and MTB project maps. But if you just go to there, explore the map, you'll see them everywhere. Some of the trails link up to greenways. The backyard trails, like you mentioned, actually touches the signature greenway in our area. It's part of what's known as the Cross Charlotte Trail. It will eventually be a 26-mile trail that crosses the entire county greenway trail, paved trail.
Nice.
And the backyard trails touches a segment that's, I think it's about 12 miles of contiguous greenway. So you get some really cool riding and ride all the way to uptown Charlotte from the backyard trails. And then there's 18 miles of very unique and technical urban single track at the backyard.
Yeah, that's why I love it so much. No, I've never ridden to the trails from town. I usually just drive down and park because I'm usually trying to get there and get a ride in before it's dark. And I've just finished working or something. But as with a lot of places in the past, 20 months or something, we've been going through somewhat of a pandemic. Lots of people have been wanting to get outside, and, mountain biking has been one of the bigger booms of that, with a metro area like Charlotte having, well over 1 million people. I'm sure that the trails have been getting flooded.
Trails were getting absolutely hammered. And I know you guys experienced that in Western North Carolina, but let me tell you, in the metro, it was crazy. Everything shut down except parks were open, but parking lots were not open. And that might have been the same in the National Forest. But, when you're in a metropolis, just because the parking lot's not open doesn't mean people aren't going to walk to the park and bike to the park. So these places were getting, tons of use, seeing all sorts of people on the trail that had never been on a trail before. And then I live just over the border from Mecklenburg to Iredell County. Our parking lots for parks were not closed because it was county by county. So you had people driving across the county border, and I've never seen the trail parking lots in Mooresville so packed.
Yeah, it is crazy for sure. So with this huge influx of new people coming into our sport, new people, exploring the outdoors, which is awesome, how have you guys been meeting up with demand?
Well, we've been busy. That's for sure. And being an organization that covers such a large geography, different land managers were kind of reacting in different ways. And what's unique is the smaller jurisdictions have really picked up on the need for more trails much more quickly than a larger jurisdiction like Charlotte. There's just a lot going on in Charlotte. There's a lot of noise. There's huge tourism. You got the Panthers, the Hornets, NASCAR. But these smaller communities, the trails are a big amenity. And so we saw a lot of those smaller land managers really jump on board, say, hey, we have land available, or we would have an active project, and they would become much more interested and become willing partners on the funding side to give us more funding. But, we always have a number of projects in the works, being such a large geography. And we were just fortunate that this year in 2021, we might have had our biggest year ever as far as new projects. Now, it's not all mileage, but it's all been extremely high quality. And I feel like that's what the biking community has been moving towards, right? Like, we've always had trail mileage in North Carolina. We've been very fortunate, but now with new projects, we're just trying to bring on high quality bike experiences. So, you might only have a park with, 5-6 miles of trail, but it's going to be some awesome trail, and you're going to lap it, and it's going to have features within it that, you're not going to get bored on.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of places in the past haven't really offered, especially North Carolina is definitely a prime example of that, where, they build trails, but you're in the woods and you're riding past cool rock features or something. Like, why is the trail not taking advantage of some of these, natural obstacles? And it seems like after places like Bentonville or more newer school trail builders start getting into the sport and start making their way up and getting better and better, and then getting these bigger projects, they're coming in. It's almost like the new school of trail building is opening up land managers' eyes to what's possible with what they have.
Yeah, the quality of the trail experience and the expectations for that level of quality have definitely been raised.
You mentioned 2021, you guys brought on a bunch of new projects. And there's one project in particular that has piqued my interest over the years. And you guys have kind of been sitting on it for a minute. So kind of tell us a little bit about what you've been sitting on that is now available to put tires on.
Yeah, so we've opened 4 awesome projects this year, but one in particular, like you said, has been much anticipated. And it's interesting how far the word has gotten out about the project, because it's lived a long life before the public was ever able to put tires on it. So that project's the Airline Bike Park, and it is located just west of the Charlotte Douglas Airport, kind of nestled right up in between I-485 and the Catawba River.
Okay.
So if you were looking at I-485, which is the big interstate loop around Charlotte, it would be kind of squarely at 9 o'clock on that loop. Very easy access. It's not too far from the intersection between Interstate 85 and 485. You can get to 85 by 321, 64, a number of different routes.
Yeah.
And so this project, it really began in 2015. It's kind of crazy to think about that. A project that opened in 2021 started in 2015, but it's not your ordinary trail project.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people really understand, like when it comes to working with governments, land managers, kind of how much behind the scenes work goes into getting a new trail network built.
Yeah, there was, the behind the scenes work for this one, it probably started. Well, I mean, technically it started way before 2015, but the Trailblazers built relationships with land managers. And, we have memorandums of understanding with those land managers to build trail on their property. And one of those land managers that we have built a great relationship with is actually Charlotte Water, which is the water provider for all of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County and beyond. So a huge entity, and they have a lot of land because they've got water treatment plants, some that are active, some that are not active.
Like backyard trails.
And that's actually how we curated that relationship.
Awesome.
And then they also have properties that are land banked, for future water treatment needs. So this property actually backs up to the Catawba River. At some point in time, they may have a water intake off the Catawba River. But when we updated a memorandum of understanding with Mecklenburg County Parks and Rec in 2012, this property was added on there. Charlotte Water actually leases the property to Park and Rec for a very nominal fee to allow recreation purposes to occur. It's better to have people on a property than to have just a vacant property. You're going to have people doing all sorts of things out there. So they wanted to activate the property. And
that's a good word, activate the property. I like that.
Yeah, we need active uses to drive out the nuisances.
That's some government speak right there if I've ever heard it.
I got a lot of it. But Trailblazers started working on the project in 2015. And I actually was looking through my notes and I remembered the exact meeting when we started talking about it. I had been on the board. Maybe I was even on the extended board at the time, but one of the president had known about this property. He was kind of waiting until the time was right for us to start working on it. So those initial meetings were in 2015 and we started working internally, just ideas. How might we attack this project? Well, in 2016, a huge development broke in the news. It's called the River District. And if you kind of follow development news in Charlotte, you've absolutely heard about it many times by now. But they hit the scene with a rezoning proposal for 1,400 acres. And this development completely surrounded the 120-acre Charlotte water parcel that we were going to work on a trail system for. The developers, Crescent Development, being the savvy folks that they are, they heard about the Tar Heel Trailblazers and this trail system that was going to be right in the middle of their community. And when I say community, I mean they are going to build a new small city.
Yeah, like school infrastructure, shopping centers, police, fire, et cetera, I'm sure.
Everything. We're talking 2,300 dwelling units, apartments, townhomes, single family, 8 million square feet of office, retail, and commercial. Okay. This is huge. One of the biggest developments in Charlotte in 20 years. Mm-hmm. So they heard about the trails and we met with them. They were curious. They knew that the trails would be an amenity for their development, and we knew that their development could be an amenity for the trails.
Yeah, especially with what did you say, 1,400 acres?
1,400 acres.
Yeah.
So we sat down in their office in Uptown Charlotte and they said, well, how can we help with these trails? We're going to have open space in our development. We like these trails to connect. We want people that eventually live in the River District to be able to access these trails. So they actually kicked off a master plan. They hired a consultant to come in, a big national firm, to do planning, bring in stakeholders. So we put together a master plan that was finished in the beginning of 2017 that laid the groundwork for how this development would interface with the trails. Very conceptual. There were lines on the map. They weren't based on hard flagging. The terrain is very varied. So those lines were not necessarily feasible, but the concept was feasible and we had something to work with. So we had this partner, Crescent Development, and we had this plan. And so we started building some trails. We got a grant from REI at the end of 2016, and in the spring of 2017, TerraTech Trails, who some listeners may be familiar with, they just finished up a big project in Wilson Creek on Yancey Ridge.
Let's not just say they, it's Moto Mike.
Moto Mike. Yeah. The enterprise that is TerraTech Trails.
Yep. Moto Mike Enterprises.
Well, we brought Mike in to help establish some of the basic infrastructure. We wanted this to be a regional attraction. Got a grant from REI. We brought Mike in to build us a badass black jump trail.
Okay.
Of course, that's what we started with. You know, we learn as we go on trail planning and design. Maybe we should have started with a different piece of infrastructure, but that's what we wanted. We knew we wanted it. And so that's what we did. So Mike came in and built this jump line. As he was building it, we had a framework for an entire gravity area with other trails in the future. We went ahead and started cutting some volunteer-built single track. And, we assumed we'd be opening this park in 2018. Crescent Development was, a ready and willing partner. They were going to help us build a parking lot. There's no infrastructure to bring people in and out of this park. And you got to think, there's a little gravel access, but it didn't have great sight distance. If you're going to have the public coming in and out of a park, you've got to really account for how it interacts with this state maintained road. So Crescent Development actually brought on a trail contractor that they hired to set the cross country trails, kind of give us a perimeter loop.
On your property?
Yeah, this loop, it was on the city property, and it also went on to their property in their future open space.
Okay, so it was like the common area trail that they were in hopes of that would bridge their property and the city's property.
Exactly. They already knew enough details about where they would develop to understand where their green space would be. So this perimeter loop, in order to make the best use of the terrain, terrain doesn't stop with property boundaries. So that was built within their open space, and they footed the bill for that. Community Trail Design is a local professional trail building firm based out of Charlotte, Craig Brixer, who I think folks are going to hear from later. He was hired by Crescent to establish this perimeter system. And, we were so excited. He put in, it was about 5 miles, a little less than 5 miles with his project. So Crescent's very engaged. They're bringing money to the table, planning to the table. The next thing was to build a parking lot. Well, they got busy with the development, is a way to put it lightly. So, folks knew about the project. We were excited about it. We're talking about it in the community.
And you know what? I remember hearing from Moto Mike back in 17, because, social media. So he's posting stuff. I'm like, yo, where are these jumps set? And, he's like, this new trail system is going to be by the airport in Charlotte, but they can't open yet because they don't have a parking lot, which leads us to where you're at now.
Yeah. 2018 is when Craig finished that perimeter loop. So we've got almost everything that you see at the park today was in place in 2018. Now you think parking lot, that's pretty simple. Well, this is a trail system right outside of Uptown Charlotte, 6 miles from the epicenter of the state's largest metro. So we knew there would be a lot of use. You need a good sized parking lot to accommodate that. There needs to be a new driveway cut onto a state road. There's permitting, grading, all this, that, and the other. Well, Crescent Development had other things that they needed to work on to get this massive 1,400 acre project going. They had a big $20 million road extension project. They had to extend sewer and water infrastructure. And so, the parking lot was not on their front burner. And we kind of took matters into our own hands and, working with the land manager, we actually built our own parking area. I'm not going to call it a parking lot because it's not a parking lot, but it's a parking area. I do have to give a shout out to Blythe Development Company. They helped us truck gravel in for this parking area. Vulcan Quarry donated 100 tons of gravel to the project.
I mean, I don't even know how to visualize that, but it sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. A lot of big dump trucks bringing in gravel all day. And then we also had help from our local Sunbelt Rentals. They got on board and helped us out with machine rental costs. You need a big excavator to clear, a place for people to park. So we have a parking loop or a parking trail, almost picture it like a Pisgah National Forest campsite loop. Okay. You drive around a campsite loop, and off that loop, there are the campsites. Mm-hmm. Well, this is kind of a graveled loop through the woods, and off the loop, there are parking spaces. Okay. So it's actually a really cool parking area. It's set in the woods. You're not, getting beat down by the sun. So we love how it turned out. And we were able to open the trails earlier this year. And it's been a great success. We've been really excited to have people out on the trails and experience it for themselves. We've put a lot of work in so far. This is just phase 1. We think it's pretty high quality, but we'll let you guys be the judge of that when you come out and check the trails out.
Right on. So what is it the trails now? Is it just the original XC loop and Mike's jump trail, or is there some additional stuff that's been added?
There has been some additional stuff added. So we've got the perimeter cross country loop that when you put that together, I think it comes in just under 6 miles. The property also has dirt roads. So it's kind of some legacy dirt roads from when the property was logged at some point, I believe in the 60s. And so those actually integrate with the trail system. People are out there on gravel bikes and they're ripping these roads. You can mix up your cross country loop, pop out onto a dirt road, get back to another section of trail. And we've got the gravity terminal, which is kind of the crown jewel of the trail system. It is the hub for the gravity trails. And right now we have 2. We've got the original airline jump trail that Moto Mike TerraTech Trails built. And we've got a brand new blue level jump trail that was donated by Community Trail Design. So Craig Brixer came out, we paid for the machine rental, and he donated his time to operate the machine, partly because he wanted some more cool jumps in the area. And so we've got a freshly built blue jump line that is smooth, pristine Carolina clay.
Nice. Getting that blue groove dialed in on it, huh?
It's grooved in.
Oh, nice. Well, I guess I should probably go ride it.
Yeah, let us know what you think, Mangler.
All right, cool. Will sends me some GPS coordinates and I dropped them into Google Maps. Turns out there's already a Google location for Airline Bike Park. 4.9 stars. Edgar left a 3-star review because the parking lot was small. Maybe Edgar will rethink that review after listening to this podcast episode. But I'm meeting up with Craig Brixer and Patrick Alcista. Craig is a mid-30s dude that runs a small trail design firm called Community Trail Designs. And Patrick is an ex-software developer turned bike shop employee, mountain bike instructor, and just all-around fun haver. Both are bike lifers and I like their career styles. But yeah, I meet up with them at, to me, looks like a little Forest Road trailhead parking area, just 15 minutes outside of Uptown Charlotte. I'm here to get the backstory on this spot and the boots on the ground.
So that's like been the backstory of this whole place, is just waiting and waiting and waiting.
I got messages this morning on the IG account asking why we weren't open yesterday or today when it's dry out, and I'm like, sorry dude, I have it opened on the website.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he let himself in because the park is open. I gotcha.
So give me a quick rundown. So talk to me about the gated scenario of the parking lot right now.
Our official stance right now is we are in a soft opening phase. Basically, it means we're open on the weekends and we may open during the week. We are a crew of volunteers, part of the Tar Heel Trailblazers, and we all have lives, and so
basically you can't babysit a gate every single day.
Right, and we do our best to open it every day. And the reason why we are opening it and not Parks and Rec is that they don't actually have a park nearby, so the routes for the rangers don't come anywhere near here. Okay. And they've already said they won't send someone out here, so it's up to us. So Tom's idea was basically let's do a soft opening, open on the weekends at the very least, so that way we can start fundraising, get people out here, get people stoked, see what we're actually doing. There's been a lot of hearsay about what we've been doing, but no one's actually seen it. This parking lot will get full on Saturday, and there's an overflow parking lot here on the driveway, and that'll get full. Yeah. So it's packed. And so for the time being, we're opening on the weekends, weather permitting. People are excited to be out here. They're stoked about what we've built and what we're going to be building. That's the current gate opening situation. It's just volunteers opening when we can, and we've committed to opening on the weekends. Yeah. So that's one thing that we said, we will open on the weekends, weather permitting.
I mean, part of the reason that it's volunteer-based access right now is because this isn't a Mecklenburg County park or a City of Charlotte park. This is City of Charlotte water property. Right now, it's up to you guys to manage and maintain it. So maybe, hopefully, in the future, once the Crescent gets their developments in, because they've set aside 700 acres of open space around this parcel, that this will hopefully become one day like a designated park or green space that will have management outside of volunteers. That would be the ideal one day. It's the consistent story of this place. It's just waiting game and grassroots to keep it going, and we're so close to this major urban metro center that everyone just kind of expects things to just be like fully developed and open. It's so interesting to like see the Instagram stories and these like YouTube videos that are coming out of like, you know, people that are just discovering the park. They're trying to give a little bit of backstory about their park and their experience when they're out here, but like they have no idea like what it took to even get to the point of just having that one, you know, just having a jump trail open up, or just even having the parking lot open out here. They're always like, you know, the parking lot's so small, and you know, there's just
Well, we
always...
built it ourselves.
So we did build the parking lot ourselves.
This guy ran the machine. He's the one who cleared all of this.
We were going back and forth. Will was like our kind of main communication with the city and the county. He was like, look guys, it's not developing as fast as we thought. Bert's not ready to deal with this right now. So we just said like, well, what if we just build our own parking lot? You know, they want to build a 1 acre treeless like gravel space. Like they're, you know, for the size of the park, they want to have a certain amount of spaces. They want to have handicap spots. But like if we do this from a DIY perspective, like we can just clear out a couple strips of trees. We can at least we got to get people in the park. Yeah. The trails have been sitting here for 3 years. It's time to get tires on the trail, time to get people in the park, get the public in there. Once we get the public in there, then we can build support for it, and then this thing's just going to go
Up from there.
Up from there. So we're like, what do we got to do? What's the bare minimum we got to do to get people in here and riding? So we're like, we're standing in a row of plantation pines. The parking lot was already designated to be in here somewhere. So you guys rent me an excavator and I'll rip the trees out. So we got a 10-ton excavator, and we just took out 2 rows of row pines and
Cut in some parking spaces.
Cut in some little parking spaces. Volunteers came out. We chopped up all the trees, built some brush piles. We got a donation from Vulcan, the big corporate material supplier that's got a quarry not too far from here. They gave us a 100-ton donation of gravel, so that's where the gravel came from. Then we got a donation from a trucking company that went to the quarry, picked up the gravel, and then brought it here. So I mean, just the parking lot alone was 3 different volunteers, businesses that contributed to building the parking lot, and including all the the trailblazers that came out and helped. So this was a huge lift. This was a huge boost. So
it's nice to have that fun DIY grassroots, locals built it, everybody rallied and just made something out of something.
Everybody's got a lot of pride in what's happened out here, so when you got pride, you've got ownership and you got respect for the property and stuff. So
yeah, that creates like a whole new level of how users are going to respect the property. So you want up on like a XC loop?
I'll let Petra show you around. This was the first trail that was ever built out here. Was this here before Airline was here, or did Airline?
We started it before Airline, but it got finished afterwards.
Okay.
But the club did this. The team members built this, and we got volunteers to come help out. And so that's pretty much like the evolution. We started with this. Airline got finished before we finished this. And then I think you started your work after we had already finished this. Are you guys ready, boys? So yeah, we're in all this pine, so trail's covered in pine needles. So just be careful in some of the corners if you decide to push the turns.
He's leaf surfing.
So Tom actually made this sign and built this archway with Jake, one of our other team members. This is the gravity terminal where all the fun, and this is really the staple of the property. Airline has been kind of like the primary feature, and since we've built Spruce Goose, we've gotten more riders out here in general, primarily riding this trail, Spruce Goose, which is good because it definitely lends to a larger variety of skill levels. Mm-hmm. Pretty fun trail. It flows really well. Craig did a pretty good job on it. He got a lot of help come doing finishing work, handwork, as he went down the line. Saw some, and so this is actually all Craig's creation. The way it flows, how it's laid out, where to put the jumps. He wanted the opportunity to kind of show some of what he can actually do.
Yeah. So Craig, what was your vision going into building Spruce Goose?
Really just to diversify the trail options in the park and really open it up to more people and a broader range of riders. Because Airline, like we were talking about in the parking lot, was kind of built almost like an exhibition trail. It was kind of like, built black first, expert first. It did a great job at the time. They got media and stuff out of it, and Crescent really helped use that to help market the park and the checks that they write to help fund the trails. But when the park did a soft opening, it just left a lot of people. It left the average rider that was coming out here without an option for something to ride. So we had beginners, we had kids, we had people that just didn't really belong on that trail, riding that trail, just because it was the only option for a jump trail out here. I really wanted to create something that would really just fit like the widest audience and be safe, safe and fun, but also be like big and kind of like make a statement.
Okay.
I really just wanted to go big. I wanted to go wide and fast.
Okay.
It took a lot of tree removal, but some of these sections in here were old plantation areas and the trees were just planted real tight. So we've had problems with moisture out here in the summer and in the winter with just lack of sunlight and airflow. So
especially with all these, evergreens planted really close together.
Really tight. So it was also an option to an opportunity to get some air and sunlight in here and thin it out a little bit. And then now Airline kind of benefits from that too.
Okay, cool.
Because it gets some afternoon light. So that trail's been running a lot drier and faster ever since. And I just wanted to make something fun that everybody could ride, progress on. So the jumps you'll kind of see here, I didn't build a table line. They're like, well, I guess I call it like a semi-table or a semi-double.
Like roller tables.
It's like a roller table, roller double. There's a dip between the lip and landing, but they're 100% rollable. But they have a knuckle to clear. So tables worry me a little bit sometimes because people that don't have really great bike handling skills, I just notice
It creates a false sense of confidence
I think
sometimes.
so. I think so.
And also it's a huge usage of resources.
It's a ton of dirt.
Yeah, to flat top a jump with tabletop, I mean that's a lot of dirt.
It's more digging, it's more borrow pitting, it's more impact to the corridor around the trail, and to me it's a waste of dirt. And I think you learn critical jumping skills by having to have that knuckle to target, to try to get over the other side. And I think it kind of creates a little bit of I was trying to say like a crutch. If you know that there's fill in the middle, now you have kind of an incentive to try to really, push and
catch that backside.
Catch the backside. And I've also seen at bike parks, I've seen some of the worst crashes ever on tabletops where someone gets their front tire on the landing on the backside and their back tire's on the top.
And it just compresses and then
bucks.
rebounds.
You just go over the bars, and that's when spinal fractures, head injuries happen. So it always makes me a little nervous building things for the public. So I really try to put energy into making it safe. And so all the lips and landings are real low angle. You'll probably notice you have to if you want to get air, you can get air, but you have to work
for it. Yeah.
You got to pull up if you want the pop. So it's really cool. We're seeing first timers and beginners that don't really have the pump and jump skills. They're just rolling through and they're getting their tires off the ground, casing everything. But then we've got
But they're having fun.
They're having fun. They're coming back and doing it again.
Yeah.
Which is the most, that's the telltale sign. If they ride back up and or if they spend an hour or two out here. But then you've got these kids that are coming out and just boosting the hell out of everything.
It was 10 to 14-year-olds with no fear, elastic built bodies, just yanking on everything, and you're just like, I remember when I was that young.
Yeah, they still got collagen in their joints.
Yeah.
I also wanted to build something that was totally in contrast to the Airline. The Airline is super unique as a trail. It's like classic Mike Thomas. It's fast. It's precise and technical through the trees. And you've got to be on point with every single feature to make it through the line.
Catch backside good, carry your speed through a jump. Yeah, Moto knows what he's doing, he builds a jump. But it's because he's good at bikes and good at trail building. He sets the bar to that.
Yep. And I was like, I'm gonna dumb it down a little bit.
Which is what, which is what, a zone like this needs. I mean, not everyone coming out of uptown Charlotte needs, 12 plus foot gap jumps.
I think the thing that we're all learning out here is that it feels like we're in the woods in the middle of the backcountry or something, or at Canoga or whatever. this is going to be an urban park one day.
Yeah.
This is going to be the closest bike park, progressive bike park to Metro Charlotte, downtown Charlotte.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, until something else gets built closer one day.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
it was 15 minutes from Uptown when I left to come out here.
Yeah.
So,
It's going to serve a multi-state area, the Metrolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina. We got people coming from Rock Hill, Columbia, Lake Norman up to the north, and then out to the east, obviously from Gaston County. So there's going to be a whole range of riders. Well, there is. We see it every weekend.
Mhm.
I mean, we see people on like straight up Columbia, Dick's Sporting Goods bikes out here riding for the first time.
yeah.
And they're having fun, So, but it's also our chance, because we have a blank slate, to build really progressive stuff that we all want to ride to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're kind of doing it backwards from like most trail development
Exactly. Yeah.
principles would, how it would go in most places. And so knowing that, I was like, I got to make a trail that's almost green, but still fun.
Yeah.
Hey. Because we're not gonna have a green for a while, and the green will be right behind him one day. It'll
Okay.
drop in over there.
Nice. Right on.
So in the meantime, it's got to kind of accommodate everybody.
Multiple things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So
Well, shall we drop in?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Craig.
You want to tow me?
Sure.
You want to tow me in?
you probably run me over. I'm pretty slow.
Dude,
But,
I'm straight up BMXer. I yank on jumps and don't push. So
Okay. Yeah, I don't like to pedal. I just like to pull up.
same. If I can go through a jump line and not have to pedal, I couldn't be happier.
You'll probably have to pedal a little bit, so don't
Okay.
be afraid to throw a crank in between. All right, ready?
Behind you.
We drop in from an elevated dirt area. In front of us are two jump trails. We're headed left onto Spruce Goose. It's a blue level progressive jump line that leads a ribbon of red clay down the hill and just out of sight. I'm following Craig, who clearly has some BMX in his blood. Dude's yanking off those lips, and I'm just following suit.
All right. Thanks, boys. That's Spruce Goose, named after Howard Hughes and his
Big ass
ugly
airplane.
big ugly wooden boat. Plane boat. You kind of fly low.
What's great about that line is there's two distinct sections, as you can see from riding it, and you get all the less experienced riders sessioning the first bit before the berms,
Okay.
and then the more experienced riders sessioning the middle bit, right, with the bigger jumps.
Yep.
Everybody loves it. They love having stuff that they can ride and progress on. It's pretty awesome, and then people will still come over and ride the airline too. It's pretty unique, and it's actually right there, and it's right next to it, right? And then when we were at the top, you saw those little trails to our right. They end right there on the other side of the airline double.
The progressive trail zone. Everything's gonna collect and merge like right here.
And then this is the return trail.
It is. I'm tempted to push back.
I was gonna say,
The return trail needs some improvement and some love and some maybe some redesign. Right now, most people are not riding to the bottom of Spruce Goose. They're after the last step up. They're just
Scooting back
going
off.
back to the top, which I was very relieved to see when I went to Kohler Preserve last weekend in Arkansas. That
And saw
people
like
do the same thing.
We were same thing. Like
we
you
were
drop in on this big hub thing. You've got those like 6 or 8 big jumps, and then everyone cuts left and comes back.
yeah, and we at one point there was like maybe 10 or 12 of us, and
Cease
we
and
were
desist. Yeah.
cease and desist. We were just riding the first 5 jumps, and then everyone was just pushing back up to the top of the ramp again. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, even with that giant drop and all the other cool jumps down below, people just want a session, and I'm cool with that. Whatever.
Super fun jump trail.
Yeah, you wanna go do it
built.
again?
Yeah, I did.
You want to ride the airline?
Yeah.
Patrick has been maintaining and keeping this trail alive, nursing it back to life for years.
So all these trails over here to our right, just basically rake and ride. So it's just supposed to be there, like just kind of like natural DH lines. If you didn't see already, as we were walking up, you got a couple double or tables and then some rollers. There's a double/triple, goes into a step up. Then you've got a road gap to a little big roller, double, big table that you kind of hip, and it goes into a step up between 2 trees, and you really got to carry your speed over that table into the berm to get over that step up.
Okay. Is there much of a knuckle on it?
There's a knuckle, but you literally land right on top if you get to it.
Yeah, it's almost fairly low speed. It's hard to clear, so you can case it 50-50 it and
Okay, cool.
you'll be all
And
right.
the turn after it, it's good because the turn after it is super tight and slow anyways.
Okay.
So you don't really want to go into it super fast. So.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Dropping in again from the elevated dirt area, this time keeping to the right, we're headed down Airline, the park's flagship jump trail. I'm mostly hitting it blind, but I know Moto Mike and I trust his trail building. But I'm following Patrick this time. His jumping style is a little spicier, and again, I'm following along for the ride.
And that one floats you.
Yeah,
That one
it's way poppier than the last time I rode it.
That one scares me, even though there's no reason to be scared.
Yeah. That was fun. There were definitely quicker lips.
The timing between jumps is so tight. It's like, whoop, just right into the next.
That's what I love, dude. Like, gotta catch that good backside.
You really can't afford to overshoot or undershoot any of the jumps. Otherwise, you're not going to clear the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get full transition length. Just almost kind of ride down the tops of.
Shall we go back up and maybe do another blue lap or something?
Yeah, let's do it.
Try to go faster this time.
We went fast enough.
If it weren't for the setting sun, we would have for sure clocked in a few more party laps. But we ended up with another lap on Spruce Goose and made our way back to the lot. On the way back, the guys showed me the pump track and some other planned areas for trail development along the way. Airline Bike Park might have taken a while to open up, but it was worth the wait. So next time you're down the mountain or passing through the area, taxi your way over. You can find it on Google Maps.
Woo! Shortcut out, I like it. Well, sweet dudes. Well, I'll get these mics off of you right quick. Awesome, thank you. Perfect dudes.
Now let's meet back up with Will and see what else we can dig up on the Trailblazers. Dude, I'm really psyched to see the expansion and bringing on new trails in Charlotte. So you mentioned that this was phase 1 of Airline. What does the future look like for Airline?
Well, the future is very bright. We've been really deliberate with how we've developed the property thus far. And really, some of the best terrain is yet to come. And we are cooking up a phase 2 that's more of a short-term project that we hope to kick off in 2022. That's going to add a green gravity trail to the gravity terminal area. So it's going to start at the same place that the Blue Jump Line Spruce Goose and the Airline Jump Trail begin. We're also going to add a new drop-in platform for the gravity terminal. So really give kind of a signature drop-in element. And it's also going to give us just a little bit more speed, a little less pedaling to start off the lines.
Are we talking like the $500,000 monstrosity thing we see at the hub in Bentonville, Arkansas?
No, not quite that. Well, I was going to say gaudy, but it is pretty awesome. I've been there. But no, it's going to be a little more low key, but it's still going to be cool. It's going to be timber, so no steel and rock. But it will be really nice. We're also going to add about another mile to just kind of the cross-country trail system, and it's going to be an action-packed trail, great terrain, and the dirt out there is amazing. So we're going to turn up a lot of dirt, make sure to add plenty of berms on that new segment of trail. And yeah, those are the major projects for this next phase.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned TarHillTrailblazers.com earlier. And I know you guys have a good listing of trails on there, but you also have a good team that kind of keeps an eye on trail conditions. So with it being a new bike park and it's still fairly new, so it's still got some packing in to do a little bit. So how's it doing on conditions, and what's the judgment on, go or no go?
So we've got a couple team members that literally live, a couple miles from the trailhead. So they're kind of constantly keeping a watch on conditions. They're able to go out there, see the trails for themselves. And you also just get to know, like, okay, I've seen the trails for a couple of years, so I know based on this time of year with this much rain, the trails are probably not good to ride. I will say that the main cross-country loop is ridden in really well. So it's been handling rain great this year. Ever since it's been open to the public, those extra tires are key. The gravity terminal is definitely susceptible to wet weather. I mean, everything, it's that beautiful Carolina clay, which building in it is a dream, and riding it in 80% of conditions is amazing. But once that stuff gets wet, it just starts to get really slick
and peanut butter.
Yep. So the gravity terminal may be closed when the rest of the trails are open, but we do have a way to denote that on the website. So each trail has either green, yellow, or red. And if it's turned yellow, you hover over that trail on the website and it will tell you what that yellow means. So you can click into that trail's webpage and it'll let you know, hey, if you see caution, this is what caution means. Because we do have some other trail systems like that in the metro that have certain areas that may not be good to ride, but the rest of it is. So we want to let people ride. Yeah. I mean, if trails are good, rip. But that gravity terminal may be closed a little more often than the regular trails.
And I think that's something for, maybe some listeners to kind of take note of is when it comes to gravity trails, it's not the same type of trail bed that, you're used to in like a national forest or something like that, where nature just does its thing. Like with these gravity and feature laden trails, they take a little more maintenance and you can't just willy-nilly onto them. So you kind of want to take care of them because they're built as a feature and you want to keep them running good.
Yeah, and these are a public resource as well. It's not quite like Windrock Bike Park. Windrock mud season is maybe the best season out there. But then you've also got, Sean, Mary, Damon, the whole crew that are going to go through those trails every single year. They got multiple pieces of machinery. So, we want to keep these jump trails awesome because the work that went into them to begin with, they've got them prime.
Well, so we've got the Airline Bike Park going on, which is very, very awesome to see. It's awesome for me to see a new bike park in the Charlotte area with progressive jumps and some stuff like that. But it's not the only one in the Charlotte area that has popped up like this. So what else have you guys got that it has recently sprung up?
Man, we've got so many great riding areas, and 2021 has been a banner year for new trails and new bike parks to come online. So we actually have 4 major projects that the Trailblazers opened. And we hope that when it gets cold and nasty in the mountains that you guys come down and check them out. Airline Bike Park being one of those. The second being the Colonel Bike Park at Colonel Francis Beatty Park down in Matthews. So we added a very expansive dirt pump track that's set in the woods, so it handles weather extremely well.
Thank you for putting a pump track in the woods and not in the middle of a field.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
And on that pump track, then we have an intermediate jump section, and then we've got an advanced jump section. And this was all built by Elevated Trail Design, Western North Carolina folks. And the advanced jump section is awesome. It starts with a huge wooden wall ride, jump on, jump off. I mean, it's awesome, and it feels so cool to ride. It looks intimidating, but I mean, even I sent it, with just one look. Peter Mills did tow me off it. He's very persuasive.
Just follow me, Will. Come on, let's go.
You can't say no to Mills. But then it's also got a set of 4 wooden lipped jumps. So it got wooden kickers with that predictable radius, nice steep landers. So the Colonel is worth checking out down in Matthews. There's also cross-country trail there as well. We opened a new bike park jump trail in Davidson, part of the Cedar Valley Bike Park Trails, which is at Fisher Farm Park. Trail's called Nervous Breakdown.
I love it.
And it's awesome. The jumps they're proper sized and they're proper doubles. So I think that's kind of the difference. A lot of people will roll up to Tortuga at Canuga and that's just the most confidence inspiring line ever. So you're just going to hit it and all of a sudden you're hitting, a bigger jump than you've ever hit in your life. You had lots of dirt all tabled out. The Nervous Breakdown jump line is, kind of a departure from that. These are doubles and they're super smooth, but they definitely look intimidating. So it's a great addition to that trail system. There's a myriad of jump lines out there at Cedar Valley, cross-country trails at Fisher Farm. And then the 4th of the projects that we opened this year is Rocky Branch Park in Belmont, North Carolina. Rocky Branch Park is a great complement. If you're doing a day trip down to ride Airline Bike Park, you can hop right over the river into Gaston County. It's 12 minutes.
Okay.
And go check out Rocky Branch Park. It's in the heart of Belmont. So you're literally a mile from downtown Belmont. And we've got a gravel trail that's about 2 miles long that goes through the center of the park. And then off of that, we just opened up 2 new mountain biking loops. We've got a green level loop that is feature packed and a blue level loop that's even more feature packed. The green loop's called Canopy, blue loop's called Boulder. Boulder has over 100 tons of imported thick field stone.
Ooh.
And all the work was done by Nature Trails.
Okay, yeah, Nature Trails are the same people that did they're doing the stuff in Richmond Park in Asheville, and then they also did the stuff on Upper Black that leads you into the stuff they did on Avery.
Exactly. And so they put all that experience in Pisgah to work down here and have just littered this new trail with features and with rocks. It's a really cool experience. So that's Rocky Branch Park in Belmont. And go check out our friends at South Main Cycles.
Yep.
It's actually a great place to park. You can park right in the parking lot at South Main Cycles, ride a mile to the trailhead, ride back, and enjoy food and beverages at the station restaurant right there at South Main.
Well, also in Belmont is we have Poston Park, which has the asphalt pump track that we've seen on some of the Red Bull stuff and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do if you come down off the mountain on a weekend. So yeah, hit Poston, hit the trails there. They've got great terrain on those trails, kind of a natural vibe.
It's real fun
to everything out there. A couple laps on the asphalt pump track, just a couple though, so you don't want to wear yourself out.
Correct.
Then go hit Airline Bike Park, do laps in the Gravity Terminal, finish your day off at Rocky Branch Park with a beer in downtown Belmont.
Man, that doesn't sound like a bad time. I think I'm gonna have to hang around a little bit longer.
Well, come down anytime. We'll be happy to have you.
Awesome. Well, anything else you feel like we should touch base on?
Love the show, by the way. Happy to be on and add some more quality content for our North Carolina folks. Notice I say North Carolina because all of us down in Charlotte are listening as well.
Awesome.
And it's always great to get the info straight from the source about trail conditions and other happenings up in Pisgah when we can make it up your way.
Nice. So if people want to keep up with you, what do they do? What are you mostly active on social media wise, like Instagram or?
You know, I'm on Instagram at TrailWill03. You're going to get a myriad of posts about my dog Chuppy, at this dog Chuppy. But really, if you want to keep up with me, I keep up with the things and the organizations that I work with. Tar Heel Trailblazers on Instagram and Facebook. Also our website, Downhill Southeast, downhillsoutheast.com. Come see us at an event and keep up with that content. We've got some great video content that comes out of Downhill Southeast. So look for more of that in 2022.
Yeah, excited to be part of it. Well, sweet dude. Well, Will, thanks a lot for, taking the time. And as a mountain biker, thank you for the time that you put in to help make awesome trails. And also, I'm also going to thank you for what you do for your real job, because I've had some really fun times just cruising around uptown Charlotte on like my gravel bike or something, or a city bike.
Well, happy to do it. You're very welcome. The bike life is an addicting and a rewarding life. Yeah, I feel fortunate to be involved in so many ways.
Well, great, dude. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the trails.
Sounds good. We'll see you there.
So, Mangler, what are the deets on the skill levels here, and how fairly are the skill levels ranked?
Well, right now at Airline Bike Park, they pretty much only have 2 like jump trails running. So we've got the original Airline trail that Moto Mike built, and that's definitely a solid black. It's got some gap jumps and stuff in it. And the new trail, Spruce Goose, is, I'm going to call it a blue plus. And the reason I'm going that route is because a lot of blue flow trails that I seem to encounter, yes, you can roll over all the jumps, but the skill that is required and the speed that is needed to flow, like catch backside on all the tabletops or whatever you want to call them, flow roller doubles, it requires a high rate of speed and still some decent skill to jump those jumps. Dropping in behind Craig on Spruce Goose, we took a couple pedals and we were going fast pretty quickly. And there's some pretty lengthy jumps when you get towards the bottom. And when you think about what a blue snow line is or what a blue line is at a bike park, it's obviously it's subjective across the board, but the speed you need and for how big the jumps are getting, I'm giving it, a blue plus.
Okay, I like that. And I think it is important to say, yeah, you can roll it and that's safe. But a lot of times, if you are riding some of these, blue style jump lines that happen to be, from Knoxville to Canuga to now Airlines, if you don't catch the landing of one jump, a lot of times it just really robs you of your momentum and you're not going to be able to clear any of the other jumps afterwards.
Yeah, totally. To keep that flow going, you got to keep your speed. You've got to catch that backside and carry on.
Cool.
But
Well-
the park's real fun. The other trails around there that are, like the XC trails, those are blue to greenish depending on, obviously things get more challenging with speed when you're riding single track trails, but solid green to blues. Yeah, but I think it's around like 6 miles of trail right now. Definitely have more on the list, and it's just a good fun scene. It's got a good vibe going on out there, but then there's all the other new bike park stuff that's going in the Charlotte area that Will touched on. Pretty much kind of every side of the metro area of Charlotte has a cool new like jump trail or something like that.
Yeah, and being a native Charlottean, I got to say that I've always been super impressed with the Trailblazers and with the effort that they put into keeping everything going and keeping the stoke alive for all the trails that they have out there in that area. And it's where I cut my teeth mountain biking and the reason why I moved up here. So, I can't wait to get back to my hometown and check it out.
Right on.
So what's the weather looking like for the coming week?
Very wet. We're very wet going into the weekend with probably close to 2 inches of rain. But then the sun looks to be out for a while. It's going to have some cold temps, some chillier temps, not cold like we had a couple of days ago, but some chilly temps, highs in the low 40s and then lows in the 20s, and then warming up as the week starts with highs getting into the 50s, lows just below freezing. So probably going to have some freestyle issues on single track trails, which some of them are pretty sloppy right now, let's be honest. Don't know what all this rain's going to do to the remaining snow. That stuff's going to melt and that water's going to go somewhere. From what we've been hearing, there's some good stuff in South Carolina. There's some good stuff on Tennessee range. Some good stuff that south facing is running good. So, and Drew, you've heard some gravel's kind of sketchy.
Yeah, I've heard that some of the stuff adjacent to the parkway up high still has ice patches, and where it has thawed, it's peanut buttery and just not fun to pass. So, be careful where you go and be mindful of where you go. But, we've all got to do what we got to do to get our fix.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, that is a wrap on this week's episode. And as always, you can find us on social media. Just search Pisgah Podcast. And we've also got our web store going with shirts, koozies, water bottles, all kinds of swag. And you can check that out at pisgahpodcast.bigcartel.com.
If you've ever left the mountains to go to Charlotte to get away from all the Charlotteans that are coming to the mountains, then go ahead and click subscribe, share with your friends, buy your friends a Listen to Pisgah t-shirt, water bottle, koozie, whatever they want. So, Patrick alluded to the slick pine straw. Was that some kind of foreshadowing?
Yeah, it might have been a little foreshadowing. I left it out of the segment, but I guess I'll share it. Here it is, right here.
Hard left. Oh boy. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah.
What's up, doggies?
Dude, it's slick as snot out here.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
How are our bikes? Oh, I'm covered in leaves.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, shit. Sorry I smashed into your bike.
It's all good. Wow.
Yeah, dude, it's almost like ice with this dry.
Okay. Take it easy.
Has that ever happened on the podcast before?
No, it has not. I've not wrecked while riding on the podcast.
Interesting, huh?